down, there's time, I can.
Okay, good.
Aaron, let us.
I don't wanna prattle on.
Let us introduce ourselves. Zane?
I'm the Zane Wilbur, Oxford County Administrator. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You must be
Hi,
Abby.
Abby, yeah.
The email queen.
Yep.
Mr. Turner.
Tim Turner. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice to see you in person.
Absolutely.
Steve
Mr.
Merrill,
Merrill.
how are you?
I worked at the University of Maine at Presque Isle, and we had our accounting professor was named Steve Merrill.
Oh, no
And I
kidding.
thought, oh my God, is it the same person?
Yeah, no.
It's not.
I went to school with, no, I went to school in Maine, Orono, but I moved into an apartment that was rented by another Steve Merrill.
Oh, no, oh my gosh.
Really
Go
glad I was
figure.
in high school for the other Tim Turners missing.
It is a small world.
We had 3 days of these and I went to the area.
So, I don't know if I'm supposed to sit or, but I.
Whatever
Like
you
to-
want.
Okay, good, I'll stand. So I don't know how many of you, I know Dave is, but I don't know how many of you are familiar with WIOA. It's Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and it's money that comes from the federal government to help people with barriers get employment. So basically, it's an employment grant, and it's been around since the 1930s. It's been called something different over time. It's CETA, JTPA, WIA, WIOA. Every once in a while, it's reauthorized. Congress kind of puts a different spin on it. So, so WIOA came into being. It was authorized in 2014, and so it was implemented in 2015. And one of the major differences between WIOA and WIA is how it treated youth. In WIA, they really focused on in-school youth, and it was a big push in the summers to get kids into summer employment of some kind. WIOA focuses more on those out-of-school youth. We're required to spend 75% of the funding on out-of-school youth. And out-of-school youth can be anyone from 16 to 24.
Okay, I was going to question, out of school meaning what? They are out of school or they're not able to attend school?
Out of school means they are not attending school, which could mean from 16 to 24 that they dropped out of school, they graduated from high school but didn't go on to any kind of post-secondary.
Okay.
So it's a matter of age, school status, but also you have to be eligible for these programs. And the youth program has a high bar for eligibility. They have adult dislocated worker and youth. So the dislocated worker, like when the people lost their jobs in the mill, they were automatically eligible, and they sent a team of people, including people from WIOA 1B, to help people and talk to them about what their plans were, how could we help, or whatever. So adults, you have to be 18 or above, and basically you have to be low income. Because what we try and do with this funding, and the board, I don't think I introduced myself, Erin Benson, from the Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board. And basically the money comes from the federal government to the state, and the state has 3 boards that look over the local area, which I think is important because I think there are very few states that have just a state board, but I feel like if Maine had a state board, they'd pay a lot of attention to Portland and Lewiston, Auburn, and I don't think the small guys would get a lot of attention. So there are 3 boards, and the Central Western Board covers Kennebec, Somerset, Franklin, Oxford, and Androscoggin. And so what the board does is it hires a service provider, and they do the direct service with participants. But you have to understand that WIOA is not only for the people who want to look for work, it's for the employers who need to find people who are willing to work. And so our goal is to make sure to get those job seekers and employers together, and there's funding for the job seekers so we can help them get training, we can help them with support services, so if their car breaks down in the middle of training, and for some people who can't afford to fix their car, that would be, forget it, I can't do this anymore. But there's money for that. There's money for clothing if you're a CNA and you need scrubs and the stethoscope and the blood pressure cuff and some safety shoes. We can purchase that. Somebody was joining the union, and we helped pay for the participation fee, the initiation fee, but we also bought them $600 worth of tools. And basically it's to get somebody ready to not only get to work, but to successfully stay at work. And so there's funding for those kinds of support services, but there's also funding for employers. And so I'll give you an example from Oxford County. There was a young man who was in our youth program, and we gave him a work experience at a local automotive place. A work experience is where our service provider is EMDC, Eastern Maine Development Corporation, and EMDC is actually the employer of record. They pay the young man, they cover him with workers' compensation, but the auto place provided the job. They provided the supervision, and what we hope, especially in the case of youth, is they provide some mentoring. Because if all of us lost our jobs tomorrow, we'd go out and get another one, because we know how to do that. But for some people, that's not an intuitive process. And so, you know, what we do is help them through this work experience. And we hope that, you know, that sometimes they haven't always had somebody to model good workforce behavior, so we're hoping that the employer can help them learn some of these soft skills. Because I talk to a lot of employers, and the thing they tell me the most often is, I can teach anybody to do the skills that I need them to do this job. What I can't teach them to do is to get here on time, to keep coming back, to put in a full day's work, and to put their phones, well, to leave their phones in the car, or whatever. So those kinds of soft skills can be learned through a work experience. So what this young man did was he did this work experience, and they really liked him there. So they wanted to hire him. And so then what we did was we did an on-the-job experience, on-the-job training. And that's where now the auto place becomes the employer of record. They pay them, they hire them, but we subsidize the wage up to 50%. Because we know that there's a cost to businesses when they train an individual. You're not, you know, highly productive walking in the door. So we subsidize up to 50% as a way to acknowledge, hey, we realize this is a cost to you. We want to help you with this cost because you're taking a chance on somebody who may not have all of the skills that you're looking for. So what we try and do is make sure that we reach out to employers, we find those job seekers, those participants, but we also make sure that there's the right training for people. I've been having some big conversations with a company that is in the broadband industry. But what he is saying is that the training that a lot of people are focusing on, fiber optics, is not really essential to what needs to happen. Because there's a lot of work that needs to happen in laying stuff. And so it's not just about, you know, cutting the fiber. So I've been working with him, and I've been working with the community colleges and some private folks to try and make sure that there's training available for people who can get those skills and be able to get a job. So rather, he said, if they learn these 4 things, I can pay them $24 an hour as opposed to $20 an hour. So we want to make sure that people have the right skills. The other thing that I want to make sure of is that each county is represented. The person who's on the board is Amy Mitchell. She's works at Dixfield in Irving Woodlands. And I finally found somebody to represent Kennebec, which was a very difficult task. But I visit. I come around. I did a swing through here in February and met with Billy in Dixfield. I met with, at the time George was the economic development person in Rumford, but I think he's the town manager now. And I went to Lights Out Gallery in Norway, and also went to the Western Maine Addiction Initiative place that's, in Norway as well. I visited with the forest, there's a forest, I can't remember the name of the organization, but they have an offshoot called Maine West, and they wrote a grant for workforce opportunities for rural communities. Right. And they got a pretty significant grant. They asked me to write a letter of support, which I did. They're working with 5 high schools in Oxford County. And so what I'm trying to do is I wrote those 5 high schools into a grant, a separate grant that I have, to try and get them an assessment that is, a lot of the times when people do assessments, it's based on interest. if you've never had exposure to something, it's not rattling around in your brain. You can't say, oh, I have an interest in that. You don't know anything about it. This assessment is based on behavioral characteristics. So, and it aligns with all of the jobs that are outlined in ONET, which is it's by the US Department of Labor, and it basically outlines jobs and occupations. And so, you know, for somebody who takes this assessment, if they have the same characteristics of people who have been successful as electricians, then you could say to them, have you ever thought about this? Well, no, I don't know anything about that. Because usually we're exposed to our families. And, you know, our families or our friends' families and what they do, and that's really kind of sometimes the parameters of our knowledge about what occupations are. So, so basically I want you to know that this is an opportunity really for us to work together. If you have new businesses that are moving in to the area, I'd love to talk to them and talk about our work experiences, talk about our OJTs. You know, if there are ways that we could meet with the people who are getting general assistance from you because you'd like to move them, because we know that when somebody gets a good job, and actually the government has defined what a good job is, and it's something that a place that pays well, has benefits and upward mobility. It's the things that I have, and it's the things that I want for the people who are participants, because when they get a good job, they come off the rolls of things like TANF and SNAP and HEAP, but then they start putting money into taxes, which benefits the whole community. So, so I'm a partner of yours, whether you know it or not, and I'm very grateful for Dave and to the long service that he has provided as a representative of you know, the county commissioners here. So, thank you. But it's a partnership that's worth developing and worth working on. So I'm happy to answer. I gave you some statistics, just very quickly. This is just the population breakdown of the 5 counties that we serve. Kennebec actually has the largest population. Androscoggin is next. Oxford has about 16% of the population. So if you look at the, these are the programs, Adults, Dislocated Worker, Youth, and Quest. And it is reflective of program year 23, which began July 1st of 2023 and ended June 30th of 2024. So it's the most complete information that I can get. So you can see that Oxford County is getting its fair share in adults, dislocated worker, Quest, but not youth.
That was gonna be my point.
And that's
What are you doing, are you working with the schools now?
I'm working with those 5 schools on that pilot project. And they have been doing what they call workforce sector summits. And I've been to 3 of them so far. The first one started in education, then media, and I was just in Rumford for outdoor recreation. So I'm attending all of those, and I'm trying to meet with them to work with them on this assessment and getting some of those kids into work experiences. But I will also tell you that in small towns, you know who graduates from high school and doesn't do anything, doesn't go anywhere. And that's an out-of-school youth, and you know, if they haven't gone on to anything, any other kind of training, they haven't gone on to employment, we can help them with that.
Nice.
Because sometimes it's a heavy lift to have somebody supporting you when you're ready to give up and say, never mind. That there's somebody who's there that keeps saying, nope, you can do this, what's your next step, have you done this, let's talk about your goals. Because you create a plan, they have to have a plan. So it's an opportunity, so that's what we're doing with youth, but we're also investing in a marketing campaign for youth. We did focus groups with youth, and some of those youth were from from Oxford County, and we're just about to engage in social media and search engine marketing. And we have about a little over $30,000 to spend. It's gonna start probably the middle of next week.
Wow.
And they use what they call geofencing, so we're trying to keep that marketing to people who are within the confines of our 5 counties. we know it's gonna bleed out, but, so we're really hoping that we can get 100 youth among all 5 counties to participate.
Nice.
Not to put you on the spot, Don, but do any of the labor unions participate in
Oh, no
trying to get,
kidding.
some help for the youth in securing any of these future jobs?
No, but my ears went up as she
Nice.
spoke.
What union are you with?
I'm with the Teamsters Union.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the AFL-CIO, got a grant for apprenticeship. Pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship are huge now. There's been a major investment in them because that's training that you don't pay for. You earn and learn at the same time. A lot of people can't afford to just stop working and go for 2 years to get some training or whatever. An apprenticeship is where you earn and learn at the same time. And so, they're doing these union construction academies and we've supported, both youth and adults through the Union Construction Academy and also the Associated General Contractors of Maine. They also have a construction academy that we're supporting. And there are other pre-apprenticeships around, but I would love to talk to you.
Oh no, absolutely. I was figuring out a way if I was allowed to ask you questions while
Awesome.
we're sitting in here.
Perfect.
I'm trying to facilitate that.
Thank you.
Well, I do appreciate it. Did you see how I turned my chair from over here to this? You talked about helping an employer subsidize his wages. Is that short term until an individual gets?
We can only do it for 6 months.
That's
But it doesn't mean, like, if you wanna hire somebody, at Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm not trying to, pick on Dunkin' Donuts for any, nefarious reason, but, it's not gonna take somebody 6 months to learn the job at Dunkin' Donuts. It doesn't take that long to learn the cash register and to learn how to make coffee or, whatever. So we wouldn't do it for 6 months. And what you do is you have to create a contract. I mean, it's the government, there's paperwork. You have to create a contract that says, this is what I want them to learn, this is how long it's gonna take. I'm gonna teach them how to be a carpenter. They're gonna spend 2 hours learning how to hammer in a nail, they're gonna spend, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then, so we will subsidize however long it takes for them to learn that occupation, but we can't do it past 6 months.
We can attest to the shortage right now of a lot of careers. We're trying to fill spots, so I'd very much like to learn a little bit more about it. Maybe I can exchange a card with you.
I will, and I think I left mine in the car, but I can run and get them and.
No,
just
you
bring
know
it in.
what? I'll give you one right here,
Okay.
and then you can just send me an email.
Perfect.
And I'll tell you too,
Thank you.
the governor, thank you. The governor signed an executive order about trying to get more women in the trades, and I've been having some really great conversations. One of them with a person right here in Oxford County, Anna Heath, who started We Build This. And so there are some great opportunities to get women into the trades too.
Right.
Awesome.
So I'm happy to answer any questions. I brought information with me just in case you asked. I can tell you that of the 54 people that we've served in this area, we've paid for occupational skills training for 49 of them. I shouldn't say that. Some of the occupational skills training is free because of the community college, but that's how many were enrolled. So you have 15 people that went through CDL, either A or B. Somebody in construction, secretaries, executive secretaries, some phlebotomists, medical assistants, nursing assistants, medical records specialists, registered nurses, tax preparers, so a wide variety.
So just a real quick general question. So one of the things that we have manpower issues on all the time
Dispatchers?
are dispatchers. And there's been several people that have approached us that are interested in that job. But one of the problems with it is that there is probably a 2 to 3 month training period where they have to go to the academy now. So they go to an academy and they can't work their full-time job. So for them to leave their full-time employment that they have in order to venture into dispatch, which was a job that would better suit them and their family, because again,
Would they make more money?
no, but they would have benefits.
Okay.
So one of the appeals to the county life is not just the wage that you make, It's the fact that we have a very reasonable, employee is covered 100%. Our, family is 80% covered by the county. So it's the best insurance that you can get in the state of Maine. It's the POSC, from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it,
Maine municipal.
yes, so it's the top dog.
Yeah.
We drive around the Cadillac.
Yeah,
So-
I
so-
know, cause I got it.
So it's very appealing
Yeah.
to those people, but they have to be able to make that transition. And to give up that store clerk job where they're making, you know, just enough to feed the family and to take care of them, to make that jump, they're interested. We have 2 to 3 or 4 people, that are interested, but they can't take.
I know,
We're living
I know.
paycheck to paycheck here in Oxford County. They
I know.
can't take the 3.
You can't stop working to train. So, I cannot remember the name of this gentleman's predecessor who passed away. I'm so sorry. But we had been working with him just on this very thing, and all of a sudden I had no idea. All of a sudden he stopped communicating, for obvious reasons. But he had some thing about that training, that either he could do it or somebody that he
Yeah.
knew could
Yeah,
do it, like through Region 9 or something, that they didn't have to go to, you know, wherever.
Mhm.
And I would be happy to open up some conversations and about, or to bring those people in to say, okay, you know, could we, I mean, you know, these are funds to help people with the greatest barriers. And so if, like I had a person one time who was a PTA, a physical therapy assistant, pays about $45,000 to $50,000 a year. And she wanted to go to massage therapy school because she wanted to, you know, switch jobs, and it's like, yeah, we're not gonna pay for that. I mean, listen, I love getting massage, but we're working with people who sometimes don't even have a high school diploma. And so we have to work with those who have the greatest barriers. But, I mean, if there can be a case made for it, and you know.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, you don't need anything. This job is, you know, as a dispatcher, you talk about a critical need and like the baseline of emergency services in Oxford County and throughout the state of Maine. In the state of Maine, this is a state of Maine problem. This is across every county in the state of Maine are having critical staffing issues at their dispatch centers. And this is not something that is so technical that they have to go to a technical school or something like
Right.
that.
It's a short-term training.
This is, you have a high school diploma, a GED, this is something that you can succeed at in this. This is answering the phone, typing skills are important, there are some basic line things that are important,
Yeah.
but these are achievable by your average person, and they end up with a career.
Yeah.
They end up
And good benefits, and-
with a good job according to the United States government.
That's right.
Which we all need a hand from them. So what I would say is that, you know, I think that it fits the mold in my mind of what you're talking about, because it's a critical need, it is something that is attainable, and it is something that is not, we're not looking at stealing from nurses, doctors, RNs, CNAs, those type kind of people, although we would take them if they came along.
Of course.
But again, it would be worth, again, a follow-up, to talk about.
Absolutely, especially if the prior town manager left any kind of notes about that Region 9 and, you know.
He was particularly certified in a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
Because
that's.
his previous,
he was gonna
his,
do it.
his previous employment was that he was a director of an original communications center.
Okay,
Yeah, he was qualified, certified, registered, or whatever you call it, to be a
Okay.
trainer. So that's probably what that was.
I'm happy to have a conversation to figure
But we
out.
have lots of there's like a 3-day school that they can go to and learn all about Spillwater, which is the system that we run that allows the dispatchers. It's a 3-day, it's a school in Vermont, but it's a 3-day school that they can take that can bring them, you know, up.
If they took
And
that 3-day school, could you hire them? Or do they have to go somewhere for 2 to 3 months?
There's another 2-week school that they would have to attend beyond that, to get their foot in the door, but, you know,
Okay, so the 2 to 3 days and the 2 weeks, could you hire them? Okay. You heard it here. Well, let's talk, and,
Nice.
you know,
Is it more than
$1,000, isn't it?
at the end of it, it is a lot more, but once we have them through that 2 week, we can start training them on our floor.
and paying, right?
And paying them a wage.
Yeah.
And they can pull a regular shift.
So we don't pay the wages for the 3 days and 2 weeks?
Well, there's, sometimes we do, fortunately, it's difficult for me, you're putting me on the spot, David, I don't know the exact answer
Okay,
on that.
sure.
But it's worth looking into because
Well,
that
yeah.
is our priority
Yeah.
right now here is to staff that, and we're continuing to run low. We're hiring people, but we're continuing to run low, and that's a critical need for us. And it's a critical need throughout the state of Maine, because when we lose a dispatcher, they go to Androscoggin, and then Androscoggin loses a dispatcher, they go to Penobscot. It's,
Oh,
what's
wow.
the closest high school to you?
Oxford's comprehensive high school.
Okay. I'm gonna talk to them about, their extended learning opportunity to get some of the kids to like shadow for a week or something like
Oh.
that.
And because they have a law enforcement program down there, that you should, get yourself familiar with, if you're not.
Yeah, I
and
am.
Yep, and it's a great program, and this all plays into that, because that, again, is a critical need at the baseline EMS,
Right.
and law enforcement.
Yeah, and Mountain Valley also has that extended,
There,
learning.
the 5 of them, that's what the work grant was
Okay,
for.
yeah,
It's, Oxford Hills, Telstar and Bethel, Mountain Valley, Buckfield, one other.
Chris Brennick is, in charge of the one at, Mountain Valley.
Yes.
He's also.
He's been to the same meetings that
Oh,
I've been to.
good, he's also the chairman of the board, the Rutherford.
Yes,
Select Board.
yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
His wife has stage 4 cancer right now, so,
Oh my
in fact, I
God.
invited him to a meeting yesterday, but he couldn't come to.
He wasn't at the last sector
He was
summit
gonna be
either.
out of town and I'm
Yeah.
doing. But there was somebody at that meeting yesterday that, he enjoys, he was a schoolmate of mine, so he's old, like me.
Join the club?
Actually, I was the youngest guy, so he's 68, I'm 67. But he's still working, he has a financial planning place in Turner here, and, but he is excited about going around to schools and teaching youth financial planning, how to do a checkbook or whatever, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
You know, what would 5,000, he said he's got, 6 grandkids, and all of them, except for one is graduated, and each one that graduates, he and his wife are putting in $5,000 into an account.
Sure,
You
like
know?
an IRA or something, you know,
Yeah, exactly, and he said by the time they're, I don't know, 60 or something, it's gonna be worth like $500,000-$600,000.
Wow.
Yeah, not even adding to it, so.
The beauty of compounding interest.
Compounding interest, the power of that, so.
I've,
Yeah,
knocked that into my kids' heads.
so anyway, I don't know if that's something that you might be interested, I can give you his contact information, or if that's something.
Sure.
That you delve in, or.
A lot of my job is being a convener and introducing people to one another who talk about the same things, who would be natural partners, you know. So yeah, trust me, there's this beautiful Excel template for budgeting. I will create a budget for anybody. It gets me really excited, so, yeah.
Okay,
It's just-
I'll get you that contact
Perfect.
information, and, so the only other 2 things we've only got, 5 or 6 minutes, but, I was wondering if you could touch on how and I can't keep up, it was Clio and CEO, and I think it's back to Clio, isn't it? Oh, no, just CEO.
The county commissioners,
Yes, so
Yeah.
just to make it, how that is structured, so there's 5
so,
members, and then your Central Western Maine Workforce Development Board.
So they're-
makeup.
right.
I think somebody from, Sunny River was a key player in that too, right?
yes, Kathy Witherspoon is the chair of our board, and
Yeah.
she's the chief human resource officer for Boyne Resorts. which Sunday River and Sugarloaf are in, but they're all over the country. So the workforce board is made up, and this is all very prescriptive from the law. The workforce board is has to be made up of 51% of business owners. The chair has to be from the business side. They have to have 4 representatives, or 20% of the total number of board members have to be from workforce. So at least 2 of them from, unions. And then there are 5 required partners: economic development, higher education, Wagner Pizer, which is the career centers, BRS, and I'm missing one. So the board really focuses on the work that I do and the work that the service provider does. Then we have, that was written into the law, that the county, and this was done in 2014. So the governor said, we're gonna have these 3 local boards. They will be made up of, they'll have a county commissioner board, 1 representative from each of the counties that are, so we have 5 counties, so there are 5, there's 1 representative from each of the counties. And basically to oversee the workforce board membership, and also to take some fiduciary responsibility. It's not up to you to, monitor the money. That's what we're paid to do. But you should be involved to say what's the budget, and we have quarterly meetings, and the county commissioners are always invited to those meetings. And it's just, an opportunity to say, yeah, they're on budget, yes, everything's legal. And so it's really kind of one of those 50,000-foot views. But there's also, like I said, opportunity to work together, to, for me to come here and meet you and hopefully get some kind of dispatcher thing going with you, and we're an ally. So.
We've been briefly talking recently about having a proxy, like a county administrator proxy for the commissioner on that board.
Well, I think what you decided to do was to go to 1 person that would represent everyone. Which I think the better way to go is to just say, because you all have in your bylaws that you're gonna meet 4 times a year. You don't have to. You can meet once to look at the budget, and then you can, come to any kind of board meeting that you want. But I think that was the problem, that was a frustration for some, was that, oh, it's too much, I'm not gonna read all this stuff, and.
Hard to get a quorum.
Yeah, because the thing about having 1 person is if that person stops doing what they're doing, and then you don't have anybody else that's willing to stand up and do the work for 5 counties, then it's gonna be a real problem, because we have to have that representation. But if it's only once a year, I think we could convince people.
Yeah, you need at least a quorum, at least 1 meeting a year, correct? Okay. So I just wanted to check that out in the open. You're gonna have 2 new commissioners come January.
Oh, wow.
Here.
2 more?
2 new.
Oh, 2
No,
new.
2 of us are leaving, so.
Oh, who's leaving? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we had this time together.
Yeah.
Well, I've been here 30 years, so you've had
Wow.
plenty of time.
You deserved it.
But I'm glad we made this connection, and it's hard for me to come back and relay, all this information, so.
Well,
I
I'm
couldn't
happy
do
to,
it as elegantly as you did, so
well,
thank you.
thank you. I'll give that $20 later. I'm happy to come back anytime. I'm happy to answer any questions. And what I'll do is I'll go out and get my business cards, and I'll leave them in the office.
Okay, really cool, that'd be great,
Okay.
that'd be great.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. It was
Thank you.
very nice to meet all of you,
Very
and
much.
Nice to meet
you
you.
as well. And the email queen, thank you.
Oh my,
That's why I know.
I enjoy it.